What's up? Having a pretty busy summer lately, but hasn't kept me from watching movies, so... Yeah, I was too busy to make a video last week, so I figured I'd consolidate, cram, take a dump. A movie dump. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it here, but I'm a big fan of the previous Planet of the Apes trilogy. The full character arc and story that they told with the rise of Caesar, that's just about as good as characters get. That's right, Caesar the ape is one of the greatest characters in fiction. Now, this new story takes place like a couple hundred years later. So humans now are basically just stupid animals, and there's not a lot of them left because of the virus that they produced that wiped most of them out, which led to the rise of the Planet of the Apes. So in this new one, we get introduced to Noah and his clan of apes. They are awesome. They've built an entire culture around bonding with birds, specifically eagles. So Noah's village gets raided and they're taken to integrate into Proximus Caesar's kingdom to help with his grand plan. Noah goes on a quest to save his tribe, and along the way he discovers a smart human. And she's got her own mission in mind. I really loved seeing the evolution of these apes as humans have become a non-threat. We get to see that the idea of humanity is still there. It's just creeping into the nature of how some of these apes act. Also, Caesar from the OG trilogy
is one of the greatest characters in fiction.
It's interesting to see how the memory of Caesar is almost treated like a religion now, and how Proximus uses that religion and Caesar's message to manipulate other apes.
Are we thankful for the words of Caesar?
We are thankful.
Do we bend our heads?
We bend.
And this dude, you know him, this guy, he played Proximus Caesar and he did a fantastic job. You can tell that he took this role to heart and he's enjoying this experience as this character for every single minute.
I don't trust you.
And it was just this sound that came out, and it was like pushing from the diaphragm, trying to figure out how to get that sound out.
And I did think that he was the standout performance here.
What a wonderful day!
I thought the story here was really good too. There's a lot of heart. I was thrown off by how smart the human was. That was disappointing at first. But eventually, the questions that I had led to answers that got me excited for more sequels. Great movie. It totally fits in with the last trilogy, which makes this a quadrilogy now. Oh, not to mention the apes and the CGI and how everything looks is incredible. Bodies, bodies, bodies. This was a fun one. It's a straight up horror slasher comedy. There's a group of rich people in their early 20s in a mansion. The power goes out. One of them dies, and the rest of the movie is this paranoid whodunit while other people are dying. The banter between all the characters was hilarious because it was a lot of terminology that young people like to use on the internet.
You're always gaslighting me. You fucking trigger me. You are so toxic. Relax. You're silencing me.
And given the situation with murder in the air, everyone kept diagnosing themselves with stuff.
Did you just fucking shoot me? I can't believe you're making this about you.
And I was dying over that. Based on the vibe of this movie, I'd say the ending was just about perfect. I legit had no idea who the killer was the entire time. I had my suspicions, and they did a good job at keeping me guessing. And guess what? My guess was wrong. The only note that I have is if you're gonna watch this, then watch it with the lights off, because 90% of this is in the dark. It's a tight hour and a half that I'd say is worth your time. It's a fun one. Rebel Moon Part 2. It fucking sucks. I knew it was going to suck too, and I waited a few days to watch it, and that struggle to hit the play button. This is a Zack Snyder take on the Seven Samurai story. The Seven Samurai story that, like, nobody can fuck up, and somehow he fucks it up.
Why not?
A group of strangers teams up, comes to a small village, trains the village to defend themselves. Then they wait for the big threat to show up, and when they do, there's a giant battle and everybody fights together. I still find it funny that Snyder pitched this as a Star Wars thing, because if he ever watched anything, he'd know that The Mandalorian successfully did this years ago. And obviously, The Mandalorian did it better. So, we take those random, undeveloped characters from the previous movie, Part 1, and we throw them into a predictable story with predictable dialogue. Then you just crank up the slow motion to an unbearable amount. So much slow motion. So, Snyder had no idea how to build this story naturally. No surprise there. And sure enough, it feels forced. He brings back the villain that died in the last one, seemingly, so he can just repeat the entire fight scene from the end of the last one. The final fight between the main villain and the main hero is the fucking same. Same characters, same fight. Same outcome! I don't know if along the way someone just told Snyder, like, hey, I don't think you've done any character development yet. So he's like, ugh, alright. So he decides just to knock it all out in one scene while all these characters are gathered around a table. A round table of exposition. Woo! They actually sit around a table and every character individually tells their backstory, and it takes about a minute per character. And that character telling us their backstory is a cut scene to more slow motion.
Why not?
I got sick of that after the second one. Then there were like, I don't know, 2, 3 more. It's crazy to me that Snyder keeps making shit and not giving a single fuck about building a story that doesn't just lead to action. Zach, if you want to make shit look cool, then go back to making music videos and leave the filmmaking to the fucking grown-ups. So, Rebel Moon Part 2 actually leaves off on a cliffhanger. I think they're making more. Damn it. Next goal wins. This is based on a true story about a terribly bad soccer team from American Samoa. Yeah, I had to look up where that was, and I'm still not entirely sure where it is. Michael Fassbender is their new coach, and he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's trying to help his team reach their goal of scoring a single goal. And he discovers that he has much to learn about this culture and how they view this game. It's kind of like this generation's Cool Runnings. It's the same vibe. There's a couple heartwarming and a couple heartbreaking moments that I was not expecting. There's also some good narrative distancing at the end. I was like, oh, nice. They also show a realistic, loving portrayal of how a group of people actually accepts someone different and how they acknowledge them as an equal part of the team. It was nice to see. It's not the best movie ever, but it's uplifting, and it did have a few laugh-out-loud moments. The only dislike I had was, this is directed by Taika Waititi, and he also acted in it, and I'd say he has a few too many fourth wall-breaking moments that are just a bit too much. The entire intro and the entire outro is a Taika Waititi joke. Like, you can cut all that out. Just let this be a heartwarming story. We don't need to laugh at everything. It's fine. I still enjoyed it, though. I enjoyed it. Abigail! You know what? I went into this with low expectations, and I was surprised to discover that this is kind of a low-key banger. I've already heard this, so it's probably not anything new, but the absolute worst thing they did to market this movie was to reveal that the little girl is a vampire. They should not have done that. Knowing that there's gonna be a vampire reveal just makes the entire first 45 minutes a waiting game. The beginning of the movie is good, but if I didn't know she was a vampire, it just would have been that much better. What makes it good is what they do with her as a vampire. Plus, this cast is solid. Look at this cast. Look at them. The only person that I wasn't familiar with was the vampire girl, and I thought she did a great job. As she's killing off this team of mercenaries that kidnapped her, we got a lot of good twists and turns, as well as a cool mob side story to flesh out some of these characters. The gore was practical, and it looked bloody awesome. They do some cool stuff with vampire powers that I don't think I've seen before. Also, the aesthetic and the look of the vampire was sweet. Very 30 Days of Night, you know? Not just a couple of fangs, but all the teeth are jagged and sharp. Yeah, Abigail was better than I thought. I'd say it's about the same amount of enjoyment as Megan, Thregan, but with a higher kill count. Bob Marley, one love. I randomly watched this one on Paramount, I think. I don't think it's bad. I just wasn't into it. It's about Bob Marley from 1976 through like 79, I think. Yeah, it's only about this much of his life. It starts out with him already being famous in Jamaica, and then he makes Exodus and becomes world famous. Here's the thing. I'm a metal guy, so I don't really know much about Bob Marley's music or him as a person. I don't know much about his life, and by the end of this, I feel like I still don't know much about his life. If you're already a Bob Marley fan, then this shouldn't be an issue. I think I would have preferred someone else as a main character that is observing Bob Marley from an outside perspective. Maybe give me a little more about his childhood and his younger years. For what it was, I thought it was fine, and I think it got the message across how it was intended to. Awesome dump, folks. Have you seen any of these movies? Let me know. Chat me up in the comments. We'll talk about them, okay? See ya. Subscribe! The craziest shit about Bob Marley is that in the same night, he gets shot in the chest and the arm. His manager gets shot 6 times, and his wife gets shot in the fucking head. All of them survived. He actually played a concert with his wife as a backup singer 2 days later. What the hell is wrong with the bullets in Jamaica? They're made out of hemp?
Did you just fucking shoot me? I can't believe you're making this about you.
Why not?